Hey everybody, Sarah Marie Thompson here from wildandcreative.com, and welcome to another Wild and Creative Masterclass, fun ways to increase your personal power and everyday magic. And today, my special guest with me is Chris-Anne Donnelly. She's a dream builder and brand catcher and creator of the beautiful, beautiful Oracle deck, Sacred Oracle, A Sacred Journey for Your Creator Soul. But she has had years of brand strategy and business mentoring, and now she's kind of coming into a place in her life where lightworking is taking over.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very, very much for joining us. I'm sure everybody watching is going to get some great tips and leave this interview very inspired. So I really want to ask you right off the bat, where do you feel that, how do you feel that it is important to add magic to your life? And how do you do that?
Oh my goodness, what a good question. That's a biggie. So for me, it is magic is sort of the same word, as, if you will, as creativity, as inspiration. I kind of see them as this blend. So bringing magic into the everyday is kind of my modus operandi. Like, it's what I strive to do. It's what I hope to do. I hope to live an inspired life. Like, if I could wake up every day feeling like super inspired, then life is amazing. So I think it's really important to bring that into the everyday. And how I bring that into the everyday, gosh, I think that's a combination of ritual, of paying attention, really paying attention to synchronicity and serendipity and the signs and how I'm feeling. And if it is a good day to just jump into creative flow, or maybe, some days you wake up and I'm a little off. So I have this track that's called the Can't Stop Dancing playlist, these tracks on my phone. And like those happen. And then I have to, kind of get myself into a space where I feel good. Like, it's really important how I feel and paying attention to that every day. So I don't know if that answers your question, because it's not specifics of ritual, but
yeah. And then I kind of want to add on to that. So would you say that that's really how you pick up your inspiration as well? That's where your inspiration comes from, doing those same kind of tasks?
Sometimes, sure. So for sure, like my daily, the daily hustle or the daily grind, that kind of idea for other people, for me, it is definitely getting myself to a place where I feel like I'm smiling and it's real and I feel good. Like, that's, it's that moment. But inspiration, gosh, that comes from so many different places. Sometimes I'll go out and I'll just, go for a walk in nature. Or if I need something more kind of glittery, I'll go somewhere where there's just a bunch of beautiful things. Like, I get inspired by going to furniture stores and looking at all these beautiful spaces, or looking at art, or, it really depends. I know sometimes one of the biggest ahas that I had with inspiration was actually with the Oracle deck. I spend a lot of time, like most creatives, like writing. You get these ideas, and I was in capture mode for a really long time, writing all these ideas, which kind of is almost like the guise of inspiration for me, because there's 100 ideas on a page, but I feel like I'm not actively producing any of them. It almost feels a little heavy. It's not inspiring. It's the opposite. It's like, oh, I need to do that, but I'm not. So December 2015, I gave myself a month where I said, I'm not going to write anything down. I'm just going to tune in. I'm just going to pay attention. I'm just going to meditate. I'm going to be, the ideas will come. And I was in super fear, like, I'm going to lose the ideas if I don't capture them. Oh my goodness. And sure enough, it was like at the end of the month, the best ideas bubbled to the top. And I was more inspired at the end of that month by the best ideas than I had been in 6 months writing everything down and like in capture mode, logging. So I think there's something to that too, allowing ourselves trust that the best ideas will stick.
I'm glad that you brought up about, just keep writing your ideas down, and like they kind of stay in that notebook for a really long time. And I'm sure many other people have that same kind of thing. And I know that I personally had an idea notebook that I kind of like took around with me everywhere for 2 years. And, it had a few big ideas that I wanted to do, and I kept like adding to them, and I wouldn't really get to it. Like, I just keep adding to it and building on it. And then it would get very overwhelming, like just be like, oh God, like where am I going to start? Right. And I think that that's that's a big thing for creative. Like that, it's not, I wouldn't say like it's necessarily a block, but it's a big thing creatives deal with, right? It's just like, where do we start when we have so many ideas and we love everything? And, you know, it's really hard to sometimes specifically start on something, right? So
it's like a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
Inspiration, but when it's too much, it's how do you filter?
Yeah. And we don't want to put down any idea specifically, right? Like we want to do them all. And then we don't really get to any of them. Can you tell me, I'm assuming that you are someone who is conscious of their energy and their space and their environment. Can you tell me about recalibrating your energy and how you do that, maybe in your home or for yourself personally, and how important you feel that is?
So this is, I have to say that this topic is so near and dear to my heart right now. It's giving me like goosebumps that you're asking me, because we have just recently moved.
Okay.
And I'm in transition space. We're waiting for our house to be built. We sold our house and we have a new one on the way. And a big part of my goal right now is to maintain my energy levels in a space that isn't mine.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so, as a visual person, it's so important to me how things look, that kind of becomes representative of how they feel. And so I'm trying to learn, not only it doesn't have to look like mine because it's not mine. It doesn't have to look a certain way because we're not going to totally reno a place that we're leaving. So I am going through a ton of work to figure out my best, how to keep my energy kind of where it should be. Traditionally, when it's my space and I have, you know, I can do whatever I want, there is the how it looks. For sure. My friends, I have a mastermind group that we get together with our colleagues on Fridays, and they laugh because they know that when I am wanting to meditate, I'll often have to vacuum. It's
me too.
And like it feels a certain way, right? Like, you know, everything has to be in the right spot in the space where I want to meditate. So space and how the space really affects me that way. Music is good. If I need music, I will get into some, like I have my singing bowls and my tingshes and that sort of thing. But lately I've also been feeling this need to kind of hum. It's almost like this chanting thing. And that's pretty new for me, the audio space feeling. And I think that's probably because my visual is not where I want it to be, or it doesn't look exactly the way I want it to be. So then it's like, okay,
gotta step up another sense.
Yes, exactly. So I'm starting to do more audio stuff. But for sure there is, you know, I'll burn sage like most people, or incense. And I have one of those I've got a USB diffuser back here that's always got some sort of essential oil on. And
nice.
So I do a lot of things. Do they actually physically change the space? I'm not sure, but my intent is that they will. And I think it's my intention. Like I like ritual because of the intention that it imbues in the everyday.
Mm-hmm. You seem like you are you're probably a little bit of an emotional creative too, but intuitive too, but you seem like a real like physical intuitive. So like very much aware of your space and very much aware of, you as physical creation too, right? And it's funny that you mentioned vacuuming, because I can't do anything if I haven't vacuumed, and it's totally a mindset. Like it's just like it's like a nice blank canvas or something like that, right? Thank you for sharing that. That's so funny. When will you be moving into your new house? Pretty soon then, or?
No, we have a year.
So, oh
wow. Wait, and I think that it's I feel like it's an amazing lesson to learn, a task to learn, like how to keep your energy in a certain state regardless of ambience, regardless of other people that are around. Like I kind of I had the blessing of, you know, I worked from home in my old house, but we were, you know, every day I would have 8 hours of getting the energy to where I wanted it to be, making it feel a certain way. And so it was just you know, like years and years of residual good vibes, I guess, if you will. I don't sound super woo, but it just made my own space. So, you know, you just walk into the room and you just have, you know, just 3 seconds later, you're in state.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be an amazing lesson, right? As far as in that, finding that state, regardless of where you are.
Well, you're probably going to find after you move into your new house and things can be the way that you want them to be, like all the time, that your intentions might just be so much faster, and because you were practicing them for really hard for the next year, right?
Yeah.
So can you share with us about abundance? How do you see abundance in your life? And also maybe abundance on the financial side of things. Where did you see a shift in yourself when that started to happen for you, whenever that was?
Yeah. So definitely I've had more than one shift happen, because I really do come from a place of lack. I mean, if I look at my past, I really had quite a lot of lack mentality, scarcity mentality. You know, I was that person who I might want this in my life, but then I would say, oh, I'm going to get this one because it's almost as good and it's half price. You know, it was always like looking at the price on the tags before I bought anything. So definitely come from that place. I think my first shift in that, I moved to South America, and my husband's family, they don't think like that. They're much more, you know what, I'm going to get myself, instead of 10 jackets at $50, I'm going to buy the one that I really love at $500. It was just a different mindset where they would spend more money on themselves,
Quality.
but it was quality. And that wasn't the way I thought. So that, you know, living in that family and living with my husband shifted that. He's a natural manifester. He's got such an abundance mentality. So that was just so nice to, you know, I started to adopt it living with him. And then I had a huge shift in my work, specifically when I started to do and be who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do with less fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had for years, I mean, when I went through university, before I even started working, I sold rune stones on eBay. I mean, I was always into tools of divination and that sort of thing.
Right.
I always hid it. There was always a fear around that, a fear of, you know, what would people think? And, you know, in the early 2000s, it was a different world than it is 2017.
And there wasn't really like social media back then either.
No.
So it's interesting because a lot of people have the fear now because, you know, gosh, like everybody and their dog is on Facebook or whatever, and, you know, they might judge them, whatever it is, right? So can you dive a little bit more into that? Like, that's interesting. Did you mean like just friends and family? Friends and family might know what you're up to, or?
I think it was friends and family. I mean, I did, like I said, I sold these on eBay, but it felt like it was at a distance. I would never go to a show and say, I'm here doing this. I didn't even share it with some of my closest friends because I must have had I mean, obviously my worry about their judgment was also coming from myself, right? It was a mirror of my own judgment of not being totally secure in it. So, yeah, there wasn't social media, but there were things like I'm trying to think back, MySpace, there were things with pages, and I met my husband on snowboard.com. So there was social back and forth and internet stuff, but it was more in my real life, you know, like real non-internet life. And so I was definitely afraid of judgment there. And kind of did a whole bunch of stuff when I started my business, because I'm 13 years into like a very traditional creative agency. I did everything that I thought I had to do to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that included going to, you know, I would go to networking groups, and I remember walking in and I was often the youngest person in the room, and like, oh, I need to feel secure in doing this, I need to put a pantsuit on. Like, I need to be corporate. I need to do all of these things. So it was always coming from a place of not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge shift in my financial situation that happened the moment I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with that. And I started saying, I'm going to bring in some alternative practices into what I do. And I'm going to talk to people about, you know, their mindset, because I really believe that mindset has so much to do with their success. Like, we could create a beautiful website, but if you think it's not going to work, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So started to kind of, and I had people start to, it's funny because long before I was doing what I'm doing now, my clients, not knowing anything about, you know, my woo, my closet woo at the time, would say, oh, you're like, you know, just sprinkle some of your magic on it. I know you're going to make it work. Or they would be like, oh, you're like a little pixie that comes around and fixes stuff. And they would say all of these things. So on some level it was translating. But it wasn't until I really got to almost a point where I was like, I cannot function anymore unless I start to, like, I was so done with it. I got to a point where it was enough. I couldn't do another networking meeting feeling like I wasn't being myself, you know. So I started to do things like wear jeans, which is more common now, even in business than it was 10 years ago. But, or maybe that's my perception. Let me think about that one. But I just, I just started to be myself and to be slowly braver and braver and braver. And the more I put my real self out there, the more things were easier things just happened. And I remember a point where I had some consultations and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm making more than I'd ever made before. And it felt like I hadn't done any work. And then again, that level happened again. So there was an up level there. There was an up level when I started to be myself. And then there was another up level financially when I put the Oracle deck out into the world. And really kind of thought, okay, it's crazy because I look and I'm like, okay, I'm not making that much per deck. I'm not really selling that many in my mind at the beginning. And, but somehow I feel like I am playing all week and I've got these, you know, consultations happening and everyone's loving it and happy. And I'm opening sacred space and I'm like, is that my bank account? Really? So, I mean, it was really, if I could say it was magic, it really was, you know, it was just being in a state of flow, opening up to, you know, what is the next little drip of what feels good. And the money just sort of happened. Does that make sense? I mean, maybe it doesn't make sense.
No, it totally does. And I was also thinking, if you can also expand on this idea. Sorry, I have like crazy allergies. It's like, that it's like mental capacity. Like I've been talking about this a lot lately because when we have so much stuff going on in our mind, right? And maybe those things like you talked about, like when you were going to your networking meetings and you just weren't being yourself, but that was taking up a part of your mind and all of those kind of things. And you really need to kind of like let go of the stuff that doesn't work for you for more good stuff to come in. So in your life, like what have you, especially in this last little bit, like what have you really let go, even for these Oracle decks to come into your life?
So the idea of professional being the same as corporate, I did have that, even though I didn't want to have that for a long time. And so by letting go of corporate, by letting go of the, you know, the suit or the way I looked or the way I speak, because often I feel like I can write much better than I speak. I often feel like I'm not eloquent when I speak. And so that's something that rattles around in my head and can be a blocker. And so that sense of, oh, I'm not eloquent enough when I'm speaking in front of a group, I was like, you know what? You don't need to use, because I know that I'm an intelligent person, but I felt like this need to like have this persona, this very, you know, I'm going to use very corporate words and I'm going to make myself sound a certain way. And
kind of like for power in a sense, right? Like,
yes, there is that persona out there. And so when I tried to emulate that, I always felt like I wasn't being myself. When I just said, I am professional because I do the work I say I'm going to do. I do it on time. I show up in integrity. I do I work as hard as I possibly can on a given project, given the time, you know, like I do all of the right things those things are professional.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of letting go of this persona of what success looked like. As soon as I let that go, it was so much easier to just show up and say, you know what, this is me exactly as I am. And then of course people see you for who you are. And then the right people start to come because they want to work with you for who you are. So,
right.
That was a huge lesson. And gosh, don't I wish that someone sat me down 13 years ago and said, just be yourself, you know? Yeah.
Well, especially when you're going through like your 20s, especially like it's like just a soul searching decade. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if someone would have told you that, you'd have been like, okay. Right? So everything's perfect. I mean, okay. there's so many people online right now, and I think they're all getting the idea that yes, you can make money being creative. You can make money with a creative career. That they're evolving into that, right? Like it's not really like a strange idea anymore. However, there's a lot of people online that are doing their creative activities, creative careers, all that, and getting out there. But maybe they are blocking themselves in some way from that financial aspect. And I think that a lot of the time, you know, when we're passionate about something or very creative and inspired and we're doing work, we often feel that maybe, you know, it's not necessarily necessary to be compensated for it, right? And I think a lot of creatives really kind of have that thing about them. So can you give us any information on that or share any enlightenment over your journey on that topic?
Oh my goodness. So just because it is innate for you, right? For someone that's like a creative since they were a child, doesn't mean that it's not super valuable. And I think most of the time the way we price our stuff, or the way we give stuff away for free, or the way we'll work for 30 hours when we're billing 5 as creatives, it all stems from our own sense of self-worth. There's often, you know, money and self-worth are so intrinsically connected. And so there's a sense of, well, it's not, and this really triggers some people. So if anyone that's listening to it, you know, I don't want to, this is not to be triggering, it's totally out of love so that we can move past that, because number one, your gifts, your talents, your unique skills that you're given in life, that's kind of a blueprint for what you can be doing and how you can be successful. Mm-hmm. You have this thing that comes so easily to you, but to the 99 other people in the room who are fascinated by it, you know, it's unique and worthy and should be charged at full price. And oftentimes I think creatives, because it's so natural, we undervalue it because we just do it without mm-hmm. and we can't help ourselves from being creative.
Yeah.
So, it's so important to value that gift.
What do you think that your soul gifts are? Your personal soul gifts?
Well, I'm always delving into this. I'm still, you know, as like everyone else, I am consistently trying to uncover them. But I do know that I have, because of my desire to feel inspired, because that is truly my, you know, I wake up in the morning and that is it's my every moment desire that I'm often in a state of inspiration, so that I'm often able to inspire just because of the state I'm in. Mm-hmm. So I think that piece of like being able to inspire people to do their best work is something that has come up. And I've only really started to see that as, you know, that's something that's valuable, something that's worthy. And also, I guess, the ability to see in others how their unique talents can be used and can be, I want to say, polished and put out and sold, you know, because I don't know if that's an innate talent or if that's 13 years of experience. It's probably a little bit of both, but the ability to see in others their beautiful gifts, because sometimes we need a mirror. Sometimes we can't see them ourselves. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's such a huge point. Do you ever find it shocking still, as a very creative person, which obviously, you know, creativity just flows from you? Do you ever find it shocking still when you're talking to someone online or you're starting with a new client or something like that, and and you've enlightened them in some way and they're shocked by the idea of, wow, like, I guess I can do this. Like they hadn't thought of it before. You know what I mean? Like, does that ever still shock you?
What happens often, and I don't know if it's not that it shocks me. It actually, in a way, it just sort of, there's something, it's not that it saddens me either, but I just feel like, gosh, why didn't you see that for yourself? You know, why didn't you see how beautiful you are? You know, there's a piece of that happens. So there's definitely this kind of tugging on my heartstrings thing. And the other thing what I am shocked by, and I'm going to try and word this in a way, because I don't want to offend anyone and I don't want to offend anyone's teachers. But
no, everybody is open.
I see people, like I'll have a session with them and I see people being like, you did this for me. You opened this up. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing this success, or I'm seeing this snowball, and I'm seeing this money because of you. Thank you so much. And I am always like, whoa, like you did it.
Mm-hmm.
You did this for you. I was able to mirror, and I was able to say there's potential. I was able to open the door maybe, or give you an idea, but don't ever give anyone your power away like that. Because if I did it for you, then when we stop working together, you can't do it on your own. And that's simply not true. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that shocks me, because I don't think that anyone is qualified to be in control of your spiritual path or be in control of your creative success like you are, right? Like it's the person that has that. And so I love to go to coaches. I love guides. I have mentors, and I will talk to them because they are a mirror for me. They springboard my ideas. They put intention into it, and it's almost like the intention gets multiplied, right? There's this beautiful effect of just boop, 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 amplification, but I don't give them my power. I don't say, you did it for me. And I don't, and so anyone that works with me, I'm like, gosh, when I hear that, it makes me, if there's a shock, it makes me super uncomfortable, because I am nobody. I don't want to be, we are all the same.
You're just literally like carrying the Windex and like cleaning the windows for people. Yes. Like that's what you do.
Absolutely. So, you know, I am often shocked by how easily so many creatives give their power away. Mm-hmm. And the creative force is 100% within them.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk about your Oracle deck, which I have right here. Which, if you don't have this, everybody, get it. It's not only super beautiful, but the cards are beautiful and thick, and the imagery is amazing. And I don't know if you're one of those people that are like a book sniffer too in the bookstore. This book smells really, really, really good. So it's called the Sacred Creator's Oracle, an abundance journey for your creator soul. And it's really, well, I'm going to let you talk about it, but it's really designed for creative entrepreneurs, right? Really.
Creatives, makers, anybody who's creating their life, even if it's a side hustle or they think they want to start a business, was 100% made for soulpreneurs, healers, creatives. And I'm seeing people use it for other things too, which is interesting. You know, I saw it used in a romance reading the other day, and I was like, that's cool, because I love to see that, because I didn't imagine that ever. But
yeah.
It really is for, it's got tips and tricks for building your dream.
So I'm going to quiz you. You know how sometimes you can get the same card like 3 or 4 times in a row, right? And I did. And this morning I was like, I wonder if I want to get it again. I did get it again. And so I got You Are Light. And can you enlighten me?
So when we get those cards that sort of stalk us,
mm-hmm.
First of all, I love that. It's just like so many things I feel come together when that happens. It's like you read the message, but you didn't get the message. So the cards are like, no, you need to read this again. You need to get this again. Maybe you read the message and it was, you know, too literal. And it's like, no, you need to go inwards and you need to find the time and spend the time on this. There's something there in the message that wants to come out for sure when that happens. So I get chills whenever that happens, especially 2 or 3 times in a row. Like there's not enough coincidence on the planet to explain that draw, mm-hmm. right? I don't know what the into the millionth possibility that would be when we multiply the 65 cards by the 65 by this, you know, yeah. But the You Are Light card, that card was one of the first ones that was made in the deck. It was really speaking to, it was really kind of, when I created that card, I was thinking about us talking, us at a quantum level, that we really are just vibrating strings, that we, there's this beautiful analogy that I saw in a documentary this week that's perfect. It's just popping into my mind. It's a tree, and the way the tree, it has its leaves and its bark, and then it has its cells, and you go down and it's got its atoms, and you go down another layer and it's got its quarks and all of its electrons. And you go down another layer and it's just vibrating energy, right? These strings. And then it gets the light from the sun, which is a total different thing. but it gets to the tree and it fuses with the tree, and it's like the vibrations change and it becomes part of the tree. Then the tree breathes out, and it breathes out its oxygen, and we breathe it in. And so it's just like this in and out, and this ebb and flow of light, just pure light, right? And when we think about it, ourselves as light beings, there's so much potential in that, because a thought is also electric, and a thought is something, we put our thoughts out into the world, and it physically changes the space around us. So the You Are Light card, it's you are a light worker. You have so much positive energy inside you, and when you choose to put it out into the world, this positive energy, you can physically change the world around you, which is scientific. They're really starting to prove these things now, and it's magical. The idea that we are beings with that, it's like a magnitude of power that I can't even fathom, but we do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So your ability to change, shift your world, so beautiful.
Well, that's a good card that I'm getting. And just as you're thinking, just as you're talking, I'm thinking about, you're just affirming how, things are so full of potential and are so full of light. And what it really is, it's almost mind-boggling to actually really get into it and think about it. But if right now, for anybody who's watching, if you're feeling as though life sucks, or you can't do something, or as though things are just not working out for you, just shift it into the idea that you are light. The potential that is there is unfathomable.
It really is. And there's a beautiful saying, and that is that perception is projection. And so what you perceive something to be is the projection that happens. It's what you put onto it, right? It is the way the world works. And I see this more and more with, in me every day. I have someone close to me who sees things often from a negative spin. And when we talk about moments in history, the things we remember are completely different.
Interesting.
The fight versus the cake we had, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
And that perception it's just the situation. We were in the exact same room, the exact same time, the exact same situation, and my memory of it, which is all that is real to me, is 120% different.
So crazy.
Right? And we choose our mindset, and our mindset then becomes our reality. It's so,
we are not having this, nobody's having the same experience. It's just you have to remember that.
Nobody watching this video is gonna, I'm sure all the people that are watching this video, as they were watching it, as we were having our chat, what I'm noticing is I'm noticing these beautiful colors behind you, and you're totally noticing something else. But beyond that, there were moments where little ideas, little memories popped up and surfaced from whoever the person is that's watching it, from their subconscious, different connections. And those connections are so unique to our own experience.
Mm-hmm.
That we get to choose. That's the beautiful piece, is we get to choose to be positive and change our life that way. Or we get to choose to be like, life sucks, like you said, this kind of down in the dumps, which is probably why when I feel like I'm tired in the morning, or things are not feeling on, it's get the music on, dance around, jump around, get your vibe to a certain level, because I want to live in that inspired state.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else is going to do that for me.
And that's such a good place to remember that idea, that you choose those memories of that time. You choose to pick up on the positive aspects of that experience, not the negative, and take them with you, right? So that really dives a little bit more into choice, but thank you for saying that, because it's such a good way of thinking about it. I've got one more card here I picked for the people that are watching.
Awesome.
And so maybe you can elaborate on this one. Gratitude again.
So many of us have, we watched this, The Secret came out maybe 10, I want to say 13 years ago now, maybe even, no, maybe, around 10 years ago, whatever it was. And a lot of us jumped into that, I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to have, I'm going to live this secret, and I'm going to change my life. And the only experiences that some people have with gratitude is that they tried it and it didn't work. So then gratitude becomes a negative in their mindset. It becomes a negative. It becomes something that, you know what, that's poppycock. It's not going to work. And so the idea of gratitude again was like, you know what, you have to do it, but you have to go deeper, because it's not just being grateful for this thing that you're going to get, this Ferrari, because that was a lot of the examples when that first came out, they were very materialistic. They were
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Vision board of the house, of Ferrari, the Porsche, like that was, it's like, that's what a gratitude board is, or a vision board, right? So
right, versus really paying attention. In any moment we have the opportunity to do this, to close our eyes, to tune in to our own heartbeat, to the moments between our heartbeat. Any of those little spaces, we can find joy and happiness and be grateful for it. And so the more we're grateful, the more gratitude is just a really beginner's entry. It's like opening the easy door to abundance. And it does work. But if it didn't work for you, it's like gratitude again and again and again and again, because it takes time to build up the neurons that fire that way. It's time to change the pathways in our brain so that the gratitude wheel does work. And if you only give it 12 days, 10 days, which is probably what most people do, then, you know, you're not going to get the miracles that you are seeking.
I definitely try to be very mindful of even like mostly simple experiences. I like to recognize my gratitude in simple experiences, like walking or something like that. Like, I'm so grateful that I have the time to like go on a walk right now, or I'm so grateful that, you know, I am just here like with my family like today, or I'm so grateful that I have a garden to just spend time in and garden in, right? So I think that that's where the gratitude can really hit home too. You can say, yeah, I'm grateful I have this like pimpin' car. However, there's way deeper gratitude than that, right? So, you know, start with the simple stuff. Like, start with, wow, like, it was funny. I had a crazy headache a few nights ago before I went to sleep, and I never have headaches. And I literally felt like I could die in the night. Like, I was like so scared. And I woke up and I was like, oh, like I'm alive. Like, and it was just a really awesome reminder.
And I would say for the people watching this, because we are talking to artists and creatives, being grateful for your state of flow would be a great place to start. Because I don't know an artist who doesn't find their flow. You know, when you are painting or crafting and you're so in the moment that time stands still, or you blink and an hour has gone by and you realize I haven't worried about anything for the last hour because I've been so engrossed in my craft. When, like, even just paying attention to when that happens, which is often the addiction of doing art, right? Because we get into that state. Being grateful for finding that state. We manifest so easily from that state. And so being grateful when you find it, recognizing it when you find it, would be an amazing place to start.
I often have that conversation with a number of people, and they ask me, do you meditate? And I say, well, I do in a lot of other ways. I personally just don't really fall into the, you know, sitting or laying down and just kind of like zoning out meditation. However, I do, whenever I paint, I feel like I meditate, because I do zone out for about an hour. Something that I zone out for like 2 hours at a time is gardening. I'll get up and be like, wow, I did not think of anything for 2 hours. And it's just a really cool feeling, because, you know, it takes away all that worry, all that whatever it is that you have on like the lower end of the emotional scale, and it puts you in content or higher. And then obviously you're able to attract more of those amazing feelings from the universe boomerang back to you at that time. So yeah, find that thing, right? Like, find that thing where you can just get in the flow and zone out. That's the key.
I really think, and I believe that we do so much in the background when that happens, or that things are shifting in the background that happens, and we're just paying attention to the beauty of the details. Yeah. It's a beautiful state, and I believe that's total meditation. Like, it's movement meditation.
Thank you very much for joining us today. I feel like we've had a good conversation. I feel like a lot of people are going to take away something really good from our chat, and I hope we can have another one soon. And please let everyone know where they can find you, where they can find your Oracle card deck, because I'm sure they're going to run out and buy one right now.
So thank you. Yeah, thank you first of all for inviting me. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. So thank you for that. If anyone wants to ask me any questions or they want to find me, my website is chri-anne.com. So it's Chris, just like a guy would spell it, CHRIS -Anne with an E.com. Right now the deck is sold out. We're doing some pre-order sales, but if you want it today, they still have some stock on goop.com. Right now it's on Goop, which is an amazing opportunity that dropped into my lap. Yeah, but chri-anne.com, or you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram a lot, and it's not under Chris-Anne. I should probably change it someday. It's under Pixie Curio. That's my handle on Instagram, Pixie Curio.
Awesome. And I do follow you on Instagram, and I do love your colorful, inspiring little pictures. So if you're an Instagram person, definitely follow Pixie Curio. And yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And if you have any comments or whatever, put them underneath the video, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye. Bye.